15 degrees, you can see your breath. Out here in the lake effect, breaking tables like it's poetry. Where else would you rather be? Pinto, Ron, Elvis, and the lay poncho. The members that you need to know. 'Cause once you out here now, your family. Where else would you rather be? Where else would you rather be?
Welcome into the Nickel City Crew. I am your host, Rob Crippen. Please like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Nickel City Crew. This episode, along with all of our episodes, are presented by Crippen Legacy Entertainment here on Spreaker and StreamYard. We're so glad that you're joining us for some of your Buffalo Bills and NFL content again today. And as always, these are my Bills thoughts said out loud.
It's a vibe so ridiculous. Since 12 plus 83 was 6. The shout rocking like a symphony. Where else would you rather be?
All right, let's get straight to it. Really excited for tonight's episode, a special episode tonight for me personally, because the gentleman that you see at the bottom of your screen is really one of my mentors and one of somebody I consider a friend now, and somebody that really just gave me that final extra little push that I needed when I was getting ready to start Nickel City Crew years back now. It's crazy that it's been some years now.
Years.
It's been a few years now, man. Joining me tonight, as always, riding shotgun as we talk offense tonight. We talked defense last week, had a great time, DT and I. Let's talk about the offense, because you know everybody wants to talk about that offense. Adam Dumptruck Rupsick, holla at the crew, DT. What's good, DT? What's good, man?
Up?
You know I'm excited about this episode.
What's up? Nickel City, welcome, JSpence. And what Nickel City, it's ready to rock and roll, baby. Offense, we talk defense wins championships is the slogan, but I think we're on board. Offense lately has been winning championships. So we got a lot to get into tonight. Pumped up. It's almost here. And I'm ready to go, baby.
Let's go. Let's talk about this offense tonight. Joining us tonight, our special guest, a man that really needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. Check him out at JSpenceTheKing on Instagram and Twitter. One of my good friends. I consider him, like I said, a good friend now. And again, he gave me that little final push when I was starting Nickel City Crew. I looked up to him. Was really happy that he gave me his input in the beginning. And here we are, man. We had a nice episode some years back, King's Business. Check it out for those real crew lifers. But man, I mean, I'm happy to have you. JSpenceTheKing, holla at the crew. What's good, man? What's good, man?
Hey, man, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me. It's been a minute. Like I said, it's preseason for me too, so I'm getting back into the swing of things. And man, I'm excited about the season. I'm excited about the direction of the team. I wasn't a month ago. So
okay.
So everybody listening, give me some grace and allow me to change, as I see what this team is built of and the direction we're going in. But no, man, again, I just thank you for inviting me, man. This is going to be fun. Let's rock it.
All right, let's do it. Let's rock it. And again, shout out to all the people that are watching on all different platforms. Nickel City Crew, Bills Mafia. We appreciate you guys. Over 1,000 people last week. And again, we are just so appreciative. I know DT and I can be in lockstep on that. We just love the support. We appreciate the support, and let's rock. Now, as we switch from defense to offense this week, fellas, I wanted to get into a couple things that have been on my mind. I know that this everybody eats thing has kind of been gnawing at me, and that's the reason that I named the episode that I did. But before we get to everybody eats, let's talk about the actual architect of that moniker that has kind of taken over this offseason, and that is new offensive coordinator Joe Brady. Now, for Bills Mafia, he came in last year about halfway through after the Bills were 6-6 when Ken Dorsey was fired. And we described it, Jay Spence, we described it basically as it was almost a situation where he was kind of just performing surgery. And he's working with somebody else's utensils. He's just trying to stop the bleeding. So the Bills did run the ball a lot. But I was wondering what you thought about it, because I've already posited this to DT before. But who is Joe Brady? Because I know that we've seen him back at LSU. And then I saw him down here close up in Charlotte with the Carolina Panthers, and he, apparently got fired because, Matt Rule said that he wanted to throw the ball too much. And obviously we saw that LSU team that was one of the best in college football history of airing it out with Burrow and Chase and all those guys down there. So who is Joe Brady? Because it seemed to me that I don't know really much about this guy in respects to what he wants for the Buffalo Bills offense, because again, last year he was running Ken Dorsey's scheme. Should we expect a heavy run approach? Should we expect that all over again like he did in the second half of last year? He's got a full off season, and I'm just interested because I just feel like I don't know him, man. I really do. I don't know what to expect.
Well, the way I see it, when you look at it, I think the first question you asked me, who is Joe Brady?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, Joe Brady is a quarterback's best friend. Like, that's who he is, for several reasons. He's going to protect Josh Allen from himself. He's going to put Josh Allen in a position to be the best I know we say this now with Bills content all the time, but when it comes to this case, with this offensive coordinator, with this quarterback, it's the truth. Right. He's going to allow Josh Allen to do the things that he's good at while kind of, I don't want to say handcuffing him, but he's going to kind of place some restraints on the things that we don't want him to get too crazy with.
Get loose,
and,
yeah.
And when you look at the past and you look at teams that he's either had this role or a similar role, we can go back to Cam Newton's best season of his career, his MVP year. That was the Joe Brady, that offense that you saw, that version of Cam Newton, that was Joe Brady. Now, I don't think that exact same offense. What I think we're going to be, obviously everybody's talking about how like we have like this, you named it offensive buffet, and we have like, a room full of wide receiver twos and all this stuff. I think while all of that is true, I think we're looking at it, and I think we're actually looking at this from a perspective where we're undervaluing what's going to happen. I think this is going to be one of the most offensive fun seasons as a fan that you're going to be able to, say that you witnessed as a Bills fan. I believe.
Wow. I did not expect you to come and hit me with that, because DT, you already know where I stand. And when it comes to Joe Brady, DT, like I said, he was with, it's like going into somebody else's kitchen and you're just kind of thrown off. You know what I mean? I can cook you the same meal, but I'm just a little bit thrown off, DT. I'm not really used to your kitchen, and I'm not used to your utensils. And I kind of gave Joe Brady the pass for last year when it comes to how much he was running the ball. I think the Bills were like top 2 run heaviest teams in the league when he took over, calling the plays down the stretch. And I just said, okay, he's running Ken Dorsey's scheme. He's got a full offseason. It's going to be different. I don't want to see Josh Allen handcuffed. I definitely want to see him, run when he needs to run. I want him to be smart about it, DT, but I'm worried that maybe it's like a situation where this guy thinks that leaning on Jimbo and leaning on that run game is overly important. And I understand that it's important and it has its place, especially late in the year. But DT, I'm concerned just because I just don't know him, and I'm still searching basically for the answers, because I don't think last year gave us all the answers.
We spoke a little bit about this, this spring of, was the running game and the kind of the mindset of last year, was that the actual offense of Joe Brady, or was he emergency surgery, right? We're bleeding out on the table. Let's whatever we have to do to keep us alive, keep us moving forward. And he did that and was successful with that. As JSpence mentioned just earlier, he was kicked out of Carolina because he wanted to pass too much, right? So
that's what they say.
And going back to the recent history of him at LSU with a high-powered offense and Joe Burrow, they were very pass happy as well. So I don't think in his core he's looking to run more than pass or anything like that. When you have 1-7, it's going to be a pass-first offense. That's just how it's going to be, no matter what type of offensive coordinator you are. But I think the truth is, he is unproven, right? I mean, LSU team with studs in the collegiate level. Then you go to Carolina, where you really didn't have a roster, and kind of a college coach and a college mentality coach, coming up, and it doesn't work in the NFL. We see it time and time again. So now you're here, and you have the opportunity to actually have a decent, at least quarterback one under you, and a franchise player who's 7 years into his career. Like, he's going to help you just as much as you're helping him, right? He doesn't have to do as much. Joe Brady doesn't have to do as much as the offensive coordinator like Dable did back in, the 2019 season when we were running all over everybody, and he kind of drew everything up, and it was just, Josh, throw it here, it'll be open. Now it's Josh knows what's going to be open, and Brady they can work together. So it takes a little more pressure off Joe Brady, and I'm not scared that he's going to be a conservative coach by any means. He's going to use 1-7 as a weapon, which, I mean, you'd be dumb not to, right?
Yeah, I guess that's right. I guess that's true. I'll concede on that. As we transition, Jay, King, I have to get this off my chest. And you already alluded to it a little bit, but I had to get this off my chest, and I want your perspective because I appreciate your points. And you've heard me on some Twitter battles with those guys that do those live audios, and just me just going at it with cats, man. And Twitter's been one of my favorite places. I never thought I would say that, but Twitter has been, I just love a good argument.
It gets live.
I love to battle. Man, this everybody's eats thing, man. I swear to God that I promise you, sometimes it sounds to me like coping, and I can explain what I mean by that. A lot of times what happens is that when situations change and they're not really favorable, one of our own mechanisms, this is a human thing, it's not even just a sports thing, is that we're gonna cope with it, and we're gonna find ways to be okay with it. When 14 left, I thought that what I hear with Joe Brady coming out with this everybody eats thing is like, that sounds like some shit that a team that doesn't have good offensive weapons says. And I'll be honest, that's how it comes across to me. Now, I know that everybody wants to hold up the Green Bay Packers as an example, and I read a great article some weeks back on that exact topic. I know everybody wants to hold up the Kansas City Chiefs, which it just doesn't make any sense to me because they don't even want to be that way. They had a horrible offense last year, and their defense carried them to that Super Bowl. So that really doesn't hold too much weight with me. When I see the wide receiver room, you already alluded to it, JSpence. I see a room of C's or B minuses, and then everybody wanting to convince me that this everybody eats approach is going to equate to a better wide receiver room than when it was with Diggs and Sanders and Beasley and stuff like that. And I just have a hard time buying it. And I talk me off the ledge. I guess give me your perspective because I don't buy it. I just don't buy this everybody eats thing at all. It just sounds like coping. It sounds like we don't have a wide receiver one, so we've got all these different weapons that maybe will equate to a wide receiver one, but they don't. So everybody eats is the moniker. And I don't know, starting to get on my nerves until these games start.
No, that's fair. It's 100% fair to have that perspective, especially after going from, we've had now 4 seasons, seeing Stephon Diggs play at a very high level. You know what I mean? So going from having an all-pro wide receiver to now you're questioning whether or not we even have a legitimate wide receiver one on the roster. And that's not a shot. I'm not taking a shot at Keon or anybody, but this is what this is what the conversation is. There are legitimate questions as to who's the wide receiver one. And, so I understand where you're coming from, but I think the difference this time, I'm not at all like trying to defend what everybody's saying about the everybody eats thing. What I think is, though, I think this is the first time as a Bills fan, you're finally going to see the Buffalo Bills, because we kind of caught up to modern football when Brian Daboll was here, right? But now I feel like there's been a new wave of football that we've seen in Miami. We've seen it in San Francisco. We've seen kind of like a positionless offense. And I feel like the everybody eats thing is really going to be that versus it being everybody eats, we're going to spread the ball around. I don't think it's going to look like a traditional spread the ball around type deal. I think it's going to be very creative. I think you're going to see Curtis Samuel is going to have the second most handoffs on this team. He's going to run the ball more than Ray Davis. Yeah, so that's my take. I don't know if it's a hot take. I don't know, but I'm telling you, like, the offense is going. You're going to see a couple years back, Isaiah McKenzie had like the little gadget trick play thing that they use him for. Curtis Samuel's going to get a lot of that, but he's also, I think we kind of underestimate him as a receiver because we haven't seen him play with an elite quarterback to this level. But Curtis Samuel is like that. It's just that he's been in situations.
Washington, Carolina, have horrible quarterbacks.
You get what I'm saying? But when you really look at his attributes and you look at him as a player, he's one of those ones. Like he's not I don't want to take shots at nobody, so I won't. But he's not, but he's somebody that Josh will depend on every week. Like he's going to depend on him every week. So I just, I'm very, like I said at the top of the show, I'm very excited about the direction of the offense. I'm more concerned about defense and Sean McDermott than I am at all about the offense. Like, to me, the offense is going, James Cook is going to show that he's a top 3 running back this season. You're going to have Khalil Shakir kind of step up into a role that's going to is going to be reminiscent of like a Bobby Trees, that Robert Woods role where he's like a great security blanket, and he's sure-handed, and that's what we're going to get out of Khalil, but a little bit more because I think he's a better receiver. So just overall, I just think we look at it and it's like we don't have a wide receiver one, so we as a fan base we like, man, this, but Yo, it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be nice, man. It's gonna look like the Warriors when it just was positionless. It's gonna look like that.
Wow, DT, you hearing this? This is interesting, DT, because I don't know, where do you stand on it. The everybody eats thing I always thought was sounding like a coping thing, but Jay Spence lays out some good points that I haven't really heard before. I do respect Curtis Samuel. I do respect Curtis Samuel, and I know that he's played with some shitty quarterbacks. I think one of my biggest
I was trying not to say it that way.
Oh, it's fine, man. We keep it funky, man. We keep it funky here, Nickel City Crew. DT, one of the biggest things, and I know that Jay Spence has to bounce soon. I want to get his opinion, but DT, one of the things that I was worried about, he already alluded to it. A lot of guys, DT, are getting ready to step into a role that they have never had. They are getting ready to carry weight that they have never had to carry before. Now, that goes from Samuel. That goes from Shakir, who we love to talk about. We'll talk about the tight ends at the end. But, I mean, there's got a lot of guys that are getting ready to step into a role that they have not had to carry before. And that's, I think, is one of the biggest things that worries me when I see a bunch of guys that I would classify as C's or B minuses. Then I'm just like, you've never done this before, Mac Collins. You've never done this before, Khalil Shakir. You're going to have to step into a bigger role, DT. There's more on your plate.
Of course. But the way of the world, as Jason said, the way of the world, the positionless football, I don't think it's everybody eats in the form of everybody on this offense is going to have equal share of targets and runs. And I think it's everybody eats opportunity. It's an opportunity to be a leader, to be the one, to be the guy who gets the most touches on the offensive end. I think that's what everybody eats.
Ooh, an equal opportunity offense. Okay.
To get to the top. Like, it's set up for somebody to lead. Somebody will be the leader in touches. Somebody will be the leader in touchdowns.
For sure.
It has to be. I mean, so the way I think it's moving in that direction of, yes, everybody eats until somebody kind of falls into that one role. I mean, this is real glass half full mentality, right, Rob? But yes, nobody's done it, but it's opportunity for someone who hasn't done it to do it, and people that never did it always stepped up and did it. Stephon Diggs never did it till he did it, right? So that's kind of the get out of jail free, BS cliche answer I can give you. That like it's set up to kind of be trending that way. We talked about it in the offseason as well as the incremental uplifts of everybody on this offense. A lot of them, very conservatively, can take upswings and then open the door for somebody to have a breakout season, be the one, be the leader of that receiving core, running back core, whatever it is that creates the catalyst to that offense. On the other side of it, we look at the schedule, and when you play stud after stud after stud every week, other teams have prime receivers, and the Chiefs wouldn't be going and getting prime receivers if they didn't think it's important.
Absolutely.
But the very least this experiment, if you will, the very least this experiment does is if we get to the end of the year and it is we needed a number one guy and it was a complete disaster and we missed the playoffs or barely make it in the wild card or whatever the case is, then we know exactly what the answer is. I don't want that. That's a horrible way to find it. But at the very least, we have our answer with what we need to do moving forward with a ton of money next year. Hate looking forward. It's win now for sure. But at the very least, we still have an answer at the end of the year.
Interesting. Add what you got to, King. Add what you have to.
Well, I want to agree with what he said, but I also want to add, one of my favorite movies, now I'm going to forget the doggone name of it just because I want to talk about it. But, the basketball movie from, what was it now? And they were in California, high school team. And then I'm going to remember it later. No, it was a high school team and they won states and coach had his son on the team and he ended up, but long story short, the two leading scorers on the team didn't like the way he came in. He came in with contracts and stuff and just wanted to change the culture. The two leading scorers walked out and he said, Coach Carter. He said, Samuel. Man, those were our two leading scorers. And he's like, well, that just means we're going to have two new leading scorers. So just to back up what my man here is saying, it's like that, and you're missing Diggs, you're missing Davis. Somebody is going to get that production, and the thing is too. I also just kind of want to reiterate. I know we're talking about the wide receiver room being full of like B's and C's.
That's me. That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
Well, no, I'm not disagreeing with
you. On anybody.
well, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm actually I will back you on that. Like I will say that we have an underwhelming group of receivers when you look at the collection of talent around the division. I think Miami's wide receiver room is insanely talented. Right. I think the Jets, they just got Mike Williams off of
he was activated
so it's like they have a very both teams have very talented wide receiver groups. You got the Patriots who is looking to try and get Brandon Ayuk. He didn't want to come. But what I'm saying is like when you look at that, it's like wide receiver groups, it's just not there. But Kincaid is technically our wide receiver one. So like I don't want to forget.
Yeah,
like we
he's
like that. Like we really like that. So I just he is. I'm looking at the list. But it's like, so I just kind of want to remind everybody listening. It's like while we're talking about, the Curtis Samuels stepping into a role he hasn't, or Shakir, or whoever, if Claypool somehow makes this roster with the injury that he has right now, and
MVS, Coleman,
so whoever is in that role, I just, Kincaid is really that one. Like he's that guy.
As we transition, it's funny because you talk about Kincaid and he's literally next on the list. Tonight's episode, again, presented by 26 Shirts. Head on over to 26shirts.com for all of your latest Buffalo Bills, Buffalo Sabres, Buffalo City themed t-shirts. Again, portions of the proceeds go to a family in need across Western New York, across the world. They've got some great content creators over there that are designing these shirts. Again, shout out to the Godfather, Del Reed, over there at 26shirts.com. So again, head on over there, support it, because of the fact that, again, portions of the proceeds are going to a real good cause. So you could do worse spending your money somewhere else. So go over there and support. Now, as we transition, it's funny, you stole my notes, JSpenceTheKing. I mean, it's funny because DT, they talk about this guy like he is the next coming. He is quickly a fan favorite. I think that, honestly, I heard something on WGR this week and I had to agree with it, that I think that his coming, along with the fact that they've got this other kid in camp, that maybe Dawson Knox's days are numbered in the future. You know what I mean? Because he's getting that big contract. Dalton Kincaid, it's right here on my notes. Is he ready for his close-up, fellas? I'll leave it with you, DT, and then I want to get Jay Spence on it as well. But is this guy ready for his close-up? Because I feel there are so many people like Jay Spence that he's really our number one wide receiver. I think even Joe Brady last week, addressing the media, actually called him a receiver. I mean, they just got big plans for this guy, it seems like, and I think that the spotlight's going to be right on him. I don't think there's anywhere to hide. He's going to get some targets for sure.
Well, it's got to be, right? He's got to be ready for it. If he's not, we're going to know quick, and it's going to be apparent as hell if he's not ready for it. But, where were the Bills and Josh Allen most successful offensively back a couple of years ago? It was across the middle. It was the Cole Beasleys of the world. It was those guaranteed pickups that he gave 1-7 confidence and let him cut loose to the outside, to the boundaries, and then he could hit over the middle and pick up those first downs to move them down the field and not stall drives. What we saw, we want layups, right? We always want these free layups, and Joe Brady creating these niche kind of across the middle. Dalton Kincaid, isn't just a curl route guy. He can run up the seam. He can beat your safety. So I think that middle aspect of this offense is just something that's not just comfortable to 1-7, but something that gets us out of stalling and gives us those layups we're kind of looking for. So, yes, the opportunity will be with him. He has to answer the bell. We'll know if he won't, but I think he's going to get a lot of opportunity to do so with some easy, if you will, looks. I mean, Travis Kelce is open every single play. The dude's not that fast. He's athletic, but he's not that fast. Dalton Kincaid's fast and just as athletic. If Travis Kelce can be open every play, so can Kincaid, and that's just confidence booster all the way around this offense.
Jay Spence, they talk about this cat like he's the second coming. They love him. I mean, he seems to be a fan favorite already after 1 year and some pretty good production. I know he was one of the most prolific tight ends in Bills tight end history. But what do you see for the future of this guy? You've already alluded to it a couple of times. He's a receiver. Joe Brady does the same thing and talks about him as he's the big slot. I mean, he's got to be ready for his close up, because I think that Josh is going to lean on him big time this year.
I mean, I think he had his close up last year, like if we're honest about it, like you even just go back to, I mean, I'm looking at his game logs right now. He had a game, Cincinnati. He got 11 targets. He caught 10 passes. Right. Yeah. Against Miami, he had 8 targets, caught 7 receptions, in the loss to Kansas City in the playoffs, 5 targets, 5 receptions. Like he's a sure-handed receiver. Josh trusts him. He depends on him. And one of the things are now, when we go back to the everybody eats thing, Josh isn't going to be trying to force feed a Stephon Diggs to keep him happy. So now you're going to get these opportunities where Kincaid, the other tight ends of the room. Now I do want to say, you mentioned that there's some talk about maybe Knox's time kind of coming to an end here. I don't think that's the case. I think the Buffalo Bills have been trying for 3 years now to go heavy tight end, 12, and have 2, and so I think what they're going to do is they want to have three good tight ends on the roster, and I think they'll probably sacrifice one of the wide receiver spots forward. I think we're going to see a heavy tight end team versus a heavy wide receiver team. And because of Kincaid's ability to kind of play receiver and tight end. But no, man, I think Kincaid is going to be that guy for years. He's going to be the guy that is breaking records with Josh. So like the tight end records for Buffalo and all that stuff, he's about to go through the record books and just destroy them. Like you're gonna like go and look at the records for Bills tight ends. I promise you, he's gonna destroy it by like he'll multiply that list. Like all the numbers that are on there
for sure
together, he and Josh will multiply. But hey, I gotta run on out of here. I just want to appreciate you guys again. Please check all the stuff I got coming out.
Absolutely.
Rumblings Network. We're back this season. We got the Chop Up. Me and Sterling will be live every Wednesday night. Me and Joe are actually going to be live Wednesday nights again, so I'll be double dipping with the Hump Day Hotline as well. And then we're figuring out Code of Conduct. I think Code of Conduct will be back. I just kind of figure out what direction I want to go in it, but we'll be back. So again, I just want to thank you, man. I love y'all. We got to do this again soon when I don't have another unfortunate obligation. But I love y'all, man. Have a good show.
Thanks for stopping by, man. It's interesting, DT, because when I think about it, Kincaid is so he's not polarizing is not even the right word. He's just so he seems to just get so much attention, and I'm just wondering if he's ready. That's what I mean when I said if he's ready for his close-up. I know JSpence said he already had his close-up last year, but it was a moderate year. We had to compare him to Sam Laporta, and Sam Laporta won all the records and stuff like that, and did all the tight end stuff. But I feel like there's just going to be so much more on his plate. I think that's the theme for me for tonight's episode is that with this everybody's eats, there's just going to be so much more on his plate. He's going to be relied on even more next season, and he's got to be everything that you described, everything that JSpence described. He's going to have to be that for Josh Allen. I think they're going to need it. I really do.
Nobody else had the opportunity to get this type of attention. Khalil Shakir, it was him or Khalil Shakir, right? Who else was going to get this attention to be the guy, right? I mean, Khalil Shakir I think is budding and growing, but there was no other choice. It was 86, and so it's just natural 86, and hopefully, it's a natural talk. We talk naturally, and it's a perfect fairy tale, and he fits into it, and he's the next bigger and better Travis Kelce, the Gronks of the Brady era, all these tight ends that go down in history and on these Super Bowl running teams. So that's what we hope for. And I think it just not by choice. Well, it is by choice because there was no other choice. So if he doesn't have a choice, hopefully he steps into that role and takes it. Takes
the Buffalo by the horns for sure. Now, as we transition and move around the offense, again, shout out to JSpenceTheKing for joining us tonight. He had another engagement with a meeting, and we appreciate him spending some time with us. But, it's interesting because I know that DT loves Jimbo, and you're one of his biggest supporters. And then I heard JSpence just, Jimbo's going to be a top 3 running back. I know one thing that I do know about this young man is that I keep hearing about this motherfucker dropping the ball all the time. So what I heard Sal talk about it the other day, on WGR when he was giving his camp update. I know that I keep hearing that he's having these drop issues and fumbling and just ball control in general, whether he's running with it or whether he's trying to catch it and secure it. Boy, I need him to clean it up. And we talked about that earlier in the offseason, and it still seems to be a thing as recently as of yesterday. The second last day of camp. DT, man, the margin for error when you lose 14 and when you condense everything and when you grab and you embrace this everybody eats approach, everybody's got to just step their game up just a little bit more. Everybody's got to do a little bit more, and that includes Jimbo. James Cook has got to stop with this dropping the ball, fumbling. I think that it's something that could really bite them in the ass. It really didn't bite us in the ass too much last year. Most of his drops came when games we were already winning and stuff like that. So it was nothing that really hurt us truly. But I think we've already talked about the margins are going to be thinner this year. You can't have it, man. I need this guy to get his shit together. I'm sorry.
Well, Rob, this is deep rooted. This is deep rooted. His first touch as an NFL player, he put the ball on the ground. The first play of the game against the Broncos this last year, and when we go are wheeling, he turns the ball over. They had some big drop, had the big drop against Philadelphia in a game that went to overtime. That touchdown might have, secured us the victory and not even put us in a situation. So did you say it kind of did hurt us a few times last year? I think
I was thinking about some other games, but
that Broncos game, even though it didn't the actual didn't come at the end of the game. It definitely messed with the whole mojo of that game at home on Monday night against the
we
Broncos
lost that
last
game too,
year.
though.
So
You're right.
yeah, exactly. So it's deep
You're right.
rooted. You know, it's something that isn't just popping up, but that also means, like we just talked about with Kincaid, that the spotlight is just a lot more on you. Yes, the margin of error is thinner, and last year the Chiefs come in on the road and play the Bills and the Ravens and have 0 pre-snap penalties. You talk about details, a game of inches, and it really is a game of inches. And the Chiefs, you know, have that culture and discipline to not make mistakes down the stretch. And ball security is a huge thing down the stretch. Josh Allen gets hit on his turnovers all the time, except he goes to the playoffs and doesn't turn the ball over. James Cook definitely has to tighten it up. The spotlight is on him more, so it's being noticed a lot more. But it's being noticed. They're not just making it up. He is dropping the ball. He is fumbling it. You know, so he is doing those things. And this is where we need Sean McDermott kind of go back to his old, not so much bench the dude for, you know, ridiculous amount of quarters or anything like that, but the presence of ball security and the kind of that old school badass approach, Sean McDermott, that we criticized him for, show him a little more of that, get this dude in check. That's why, you know, I'm not saying that this is going to solve all problems, but I was clamoring in the offseason, bring in his brother Delvin for a few bucks and, you know, force him to kind of have
You said he was going to push him. Yeah, you said he was going to have to push him.
Hey, what are you fumbling the ball for, little bro? Like, you know, so shit like that to kind of pump him up. But you know, it's you got to come, you got to answer the bell. Like you said, the margin of error is a lot slimmer. Everybody on this offense is going to have to step up to fill the voids that are gone. And putting the ball on the ground and doing the same shit you've been doing for a couple of years. Yes, you've been productive in other ways and increased your career. Keep doing that. But now you got to tighten it up on the back end because it really is a game of inches, Rob. A game of, you know, a fumble could literally lose us the Super Bowl deep into the season. So it's things that really matter. And when you're a prime back and you want to be considered a top back, the top backs in the league don't do that. So, yeah, you have potential to be a top back. You have the talent to do it. You're putting up the yards to do it. But you fumble the ball, you know, you have to complete your game as a player for your legacy, for everything. So I'm not super worried about it. I think the light's on him more, and so you're hearing stuff that might not be an issue per se. It just he kind of was, you know, dropped it down the sideline, but it wasn't full speed, or you know, we don't know the context of any of this.
That's true.
But at the same time, if you're being looked at on it, and if you're still doing it, and people are talking to you about it, you got to tighten that shit up.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think Sal said that one of them was DeMar Hamlin poked it out right at the goal line. So he's like, you know, it was debatable if it was already a touchdown or not, but why even leave it for chance? And I agree with that because we saw how that works with plays right there on the goal line. So, and then another one just as, you know, straight up just dropped it or just a fumble. So ball security is going to be important. I guess Ray Davis has had his issues a few times as well with that. So I expect to see him. I expect to see Ty Johnson when he gets back for that running back room. It looks like it'll be those three, to be honest, and maybe Frank Gore Jr. can sneak in. But for now, Ty Johnson, a healthy Ty Johnson when he gets back, along with Ray Davis, the rookie. And Ray is almost, you know, like a rolling bowling ball, you know, with knives sticking out. He's one of those types of backs. And even though he's small, he's thick. So I expect some things out of him, and he can also catch the ball out of the backfield when he does it. So ball security, I think, for sure, if we were playing that word association game like we were last week, that would be it for the running back room.
That goes all the way to the top. 1-7, you know, has gotten a lot better with ball security, but, you know, he gets a little flimsy with it sometimes, and that's what teams key on him or have film on him, you know, for, is get in there and try to get that ball because it's going to be out and about. So ball security's got to start with 1-7, preach it to these running backs, preach it to your receivers. It's got to be a team culture thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be an offensive focus for sure. Now, as we transition, before we get to 1-7 to end the show, we've got to talk about DT's favorite group to talk shit about, which I have no idea why, because these guys really were remarkably consistent last year and healthy. And really, that was really one of the weirdest things. I think Deion Dawkins missed one play when he cut his hand, and literally the entire offensive line was healthy the entire season, all played together, which is just unheard of in today's NFL. It really in any NFL, the offensive linemen and those defensive linemen are the guys to go out first because of the fact that they're like you always say, DT, a car crash every single play. So as we transition to this offensive line, the one major change is really the only major change. 4 out of 5 starters will return for the Bills offensive line from left to right. Mitch Morse, again, we talked about that when he leaves and he goes down to Jacksonville on that red Tuesday or whatever day it was when Brandon Beane fired everybody. Connor McGovern slides over from left guard to center, DT, a job that he hasn't done since his Penn State days. He didn't really get an opportunity to do it in Dallas. I've heard some stuff out of camp talking about, how Josh likes it. I guess he likes it, snapped almost to his left hand, and then he can get his laces right and go and let that thing sling. And they were having some back and forth and having some trouble with it, some bad snaps, some low snaps, different things like that. Obviously, everybody's hoping that they get that under control, but I think that's one of the biggest things, really, when you talk about the offensive line, because other than that, the continuity is there. Aaron Kromer coming back with his scheme. Again, obviously, they're going to have to meld that with whatever Joe Brady is looking to do. But, Aaron Kromer, his second stint here, he's proved that he's a great offensive line coach. He knows how to coach those guys up. And now it's a situation where you're only changing out one guy at left guard, and then everybody else is staying the same. You really would like to see that kind of same type of production, that same type of consistency. Again, the health thing, we knock on wood. No team ever really just has all 5 starters play every single snap. But that's how it was for the Bills last year, DT.
Yeah, we're probably in the probability says we're not going to have that again, right?
True.
So,
yeah.
But our depth, I like our depth kind of all the way around. We definitely invested in it. We drafted in it. We got free agents in it. There's depth, in all 5 spots. I think the center, with McGovern, we'll figure that out with Josh. That's just going to take reps and comfortability, and that's what
time on task
for. That's what they're doing right now. That's what they're probably taking hundreds of after practice to get right, so they don't have those situations happening in when it comes to real game time.
The real games, yeah.
McGovern, it's his natural position. Played it at Penn State. So it's not like he's never done it before. And I think if it was a big issue, they'd be signing a vet to come in, during camp, if it was an issue. I know they have Cedric Van Granger from Georgia.
They've got Alec Anderson who can play center.
He's not even running with the ones, or the twos, excuse me. So if it was, a real concern with the team, somebody would be in there competing for that job. I think it's just something he's got it. It's just comfortability, getting used to Josh, getting used to where he wants it. The line as a whole, I am critical of them because their job is so black and white, right, Rob? You protect the merchandise or you don't. You protect the merchandise or you don't. You keep 17 upright or you don't. It's a bitch, and people are in his face all day, and we can't get a good flowing offense because of it. Or he's up, he's clean, and he's throwing darts and killing the defense and losing morale on the defensive side because we're picking them apart all day. So the offensive line had their best year together last year. Health was a big part of that, as you mentioned.
They did.
Going into this year, I challenge them to other people have to be good for you to be good. Be good so others can be good. It's your kind of turn now to step into that role of the leader of this offense. The offensive line looked good last year and was good last year because once we got into that run scheme later and were able to move the ball, the defenses were kind of all over the place, and it wasn't like a firm hand in the ground pass rush at us every play. Once you get cut a couple times, the defense gets back on their heels, and it makes the offensive line's job a lot easier. So if they come out and set that, we always talk about tempo and setting the trench tempo and everything like that. But this is a year you had a confident building year last year. Go in and start taking games over right out of the gate. We come down, we're scoring on our first couple series because you're keeping Josh completely upright. And if he stays upright and doesn't have to whip around, he's going to find the open guy. It's just inevitable. So I challenge them this year to kind of take that step. Like, you were good last year because the Josh kind of helped you out and made you look good a little bit. Now make him look good and set the tempo and come out in the beginning and put the defense back on your heels yourself. Don't let Josh have to do it to burn him.
Yeah, and it's funny that you said that to end it because, offensive line is one of the, the most thankless jobs in an NFL locker room on the NFL field. And it's funny because you never notice that they're fucking up until they're fucking up, until your quarterback's on his back, or like we saw the season come down to that pass to Shakir, against Kansas City. We were right there in the stadium watching it. And it's like, he gets rocked back. Deion Dawkins, who had his best year as a pro last year. I thought he was an all-pro last year. So it's funny how, you get the praise, but you know what I mean? It's almost a thankless job because nobody really is talking about the offensive line until they're not doing their job. So it's interesting that you ended it that way because, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, if they mess up, everybody's going to notice. So, again, they had a great year. Deion Dawkins for sure had his best year as a pro, in my opinion. Again, what a wonderful it was just awesome to see Cybo. I mean, I'd never seen a rookie come in and just fit right in from training camp all the way throughout the season. Didn't miss a snap and was completely healthy. And even Spencer Brown on the right side, DT, even played some good football after people were wondering about his back and wondering about if he was going to be able to bounce back and become the guy that the Bills drafted him to be with all that potential coming out of a small school. He even played really well last year. So it was all around good. I would like to make sure that McGovern knows what he's doing. I know that you said he played it in college. It's been a long time since he's done it, so I just don't want any snaps in the dirt and stuff like that.
I think that's a big part
I think it's critical
of why Josh is playing Saturday. I think it's a big part of why Josh is playing Saturday. 100%. I said that earlier in this week. I think Josh playing Saturday is a big part to do with McGovern getting game reps with Josh behind him.
Yeah, that's crazy. If you didn't hear it, Sean McDermott today did in his press conference talk about the fact that the Bills starters will play. So Josh Allen will be out there. I think, what did he say, DT? About a quarter or so, something like that, give or take. So Saturday afternoon, 1:00 at the Ralph, Bills against the Bears. The Bears will come to town. And it's funny because I just watched the first Hard Knock episode last night about the Bears. And then I'm sure that the next one next Tuesday will have all the stuff with Buffalo in it. But they've got their new shiny toy in Caleb Williams as the number one quarterback. He'll make his NFL debut here at the Ralph on Saturday. DT, we have our own shiny toy. And as we wrap up tonight's episode, it's funny because we have talked about everything around Josh Allen. We've talked about 14 ad nauseum. We talked about the trade. We talked about everybody eats and different things like that. And we've argued and gone back and forth. And it's funny that it's all coming into a head because it's something that you have actually picked up on. And I give you credit. It's been since like last year. You've been talking about the fact that you wanted to see 17 assume a different role. You wanted to see him take on a different role. And I'd be damned if I didn't find that article that Terry Magula himself, excuse me, had been asking Josh Allen and telling Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott to make sure that you are imparting on Josh Allen, that he wants him to take more of an executive approach. And I know that Tim Graham had to go on Twitter and kind of clean up what he said to make sure that everybody understood that he wasn't calling out Josh Allen or anything like that. But it was more of the fact that he wants to see him separate himself, not be one of the guys, but be the guy. Like, you love Dawson Knox, and you guys play cards, and everybody hangs out, and everybody goes to dinner, and we love all that type of stuff, and we love that about you, Josh, but we also want you to be above them, not in a negative connotation. And I think that's why Tim Graham had to go on Twitter and kind of clean it up, because it's not in a negative. People took it as a negative connotation, like he's better than everybody else, but it is like he's better. It's just a different. It's like working with your manager that you're close with. You guys were close together when you guys were in the same position. He gets promoted to manager. You got to act like a manager. You can't just be the buddy the entire time. You've got to be more executive. And I think that that's what Terry Magula is literally calling for. So I'll give you props, DT. You called this shit like last year. So I'll give you props on that, man.
I believe Josh Allen will go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I think you're with me there on that, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
And you look back in the past of all the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and they all have that similar trait, that similar attribute. They are the alpha. They are everything that franchise is. They are the lead dog. That doesn't say they can't get along with their teammates, but like you said, the pecking order is clear. 1-7 is the top. Everything else is under. And that is, everyone agrees with it. That's the way it is. Mm-hmm. This year coming in, we kind of give the opportunity. All right, you're not a kid anymore. 1-7, you're not a kid anymore. We know you're an athletic freak and you can make all these plays and you're poised and this and that. But this is your team. This is your control. And what we talked about earlier with Joe Brady kind of having a nice crutch to lean on, it's Josh Allen as the quarterback coming in and kind of running his own deal. Whatever he says goes type thing. And there's going to be a learning curve for him with that. He's going to walk down a hallway that he shouldn't have went down. But then he's also going to walk down the right hallways, I think more than not. And that's what we have to lean on, going in with the opportunity to everybody eats mentality, or picking somebody is going to give you that juice, giving them confidence, throwing it to one guy to get him going, because he's going to block for you better if he gets a catch. And just knowing these things about your your team and your offense, and that's what the leaders and the alphas do, and that's what Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Patrick Mahomes does. So that's what we have to get into and hang our hat on. And the opportunities there, as we said, everyone has to
sometimes calling out guys out. Sometimes
exactly.
That's kind of what 14 did. But now he's got to kind of do
it. If you're not up to expectation, you need to hear about it, and because it is the margin of error is so slim anyway, and now it's more slim than ever because there's all those spots to fill in. But again, we keep going back to glass half full, opportunity, Rob, opportunity for Josh Allen to be that. And So far, it sounds like he is kind of being that. They're saying one of his best camps ever. They probably say that every year, right? I'm not, whatever. But the fact that he embraces and comes out, it's not getting stale. It's not getting bored. He's not turning into the Phillip Rivers of the world, or the always going to be okay, but never going to get over the hump type of vibes. You got to be the alpha. You got to put it in. And yeah, if it's getting in somebody's ass, it's got to be. And I think he has the comfort to do that. That was the biggest thing with Diggs. Could he yell at him? Could he not? Who knows, right? So now there's no question. There's not anybody on this team that can give 1-7 attitude for getting their ass ringed out of practice.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, and sometimes I wonder, I think back to Mama Monday, and I'm wondering, like, is that in his DNA? Is he not, confrontational? That type of thing. Are we asking him to be somebody that he's not? That type of thing. But I think that when it comes with quarterback, there's just a different level of responsibility that comes with that position. It's just different. There's really no way around it. So I understood what Bagula was looking for. I didn't need Tim Graham to clean it up, because I understood exactly what he was talking about, was that it is cool to be close, and it is cool to have guys over your house. Jim Kelly had fucking parties. I mean, every week he had a party at his house, and that all the Bills, players went to, especially on the offense. So I understand that you could be one of the guys, but there has to be a level of separation. There has to be some type of line of delineation, like, hey man, he's up here. That's Josh fucking Allen, like, you know what I mean? And then it, like you just said, everything kind of flows down from there. And I need him to embrace it, even if it may be uncomfortable for him to do, because this is really his show. This is one of the biggest things that we'll talk about, and we are going to get ready to have an episode about Josh now that we're getting ready to wrap up and head into the regular season. But one of the biggest things that I'm looking for him maturity wise is just it's not just necessarily yelling at guys. That I understand. And, everybody talks about Peyton Manning and Brady and getting people's asses. I understand how that works, but more like correcting things to get them perfect. Like, be a perfection, seeker. And I know that there's not going to be a perfect game. I understand, perfection in the park was the closest thing we'll ever have to it for Bills Mafia, but you should always be trying to attain it. So it's not necessarily yelling at guys, but it might be just, hey man, you ran this route and you did a 7-yard stem. I need you, to get to 5 yards, or I need you to get to this depth, and shake, or whatever the case may be. Like, pointing out things that he needs. What do they say about Rodgers is that he's maniacal out there at Jets camp about getting things right, and he'll get in Garrett Wilson's ass or get anybody's ass that's messing up in practice because he wants it to be perfect and he knows that his time is running out. I don't know if Josh feels like his time is running out, but I do want him to kind of assume that role, DT, of just, listen, man, I need it to be as close to perfect that you can make it, and demand it. And I that's my only thing. Is Josh okay demanding that type of thing? Is that his personality? And I guess Mama Monday will be able to tell us better, but I don't know if he's comfortable doing it, but he's just got to do it. He does.
Practice doesn't make perfect, Rob. Perfect practice makes perfect, right? So that's what it's got to get to. It's got to be the leadership role of like no mistakes, like no mistakes. We can't do it. We keep going back to this. We're there. We're in the game against the best team with chances to win. And the difference is a mistake here, a mistake there, an inch here, an inch there. We can't have it. It's the NFL. It's the big leagues. It don't get bigger, Rob. It's what we pay thousands of dollars for every year. Because it doesn't get bigger than this. It doesn't get bigger than this.
That's
so
right.
The details have to be, touched on. And as the alpha and the leader of the team, you have to do that. Again, this isn't a knock at Stephon Diggs by any means or anything like that. But the fact of that was a question, going into who was doing that until now. Now we know who's doing it, and we'll know. We talk about answers, black and white answers here. We'll know if he's not doing it. We'll know if Dalton Kincaid isn't stepping up to the height. We'll know if James Cook still has a fumbling problem. We'll know if we need a number one receiver. We'll know if Josh Allen isn't stepping into the alpha role. So it's going to be a lot of no shield, no hide places.
Yeah, nowhere to hide.
And at the very least, we'll see success, or we'll have answers of how to get success.
Absolutely. I agree with you on that one. As we wrap up tonight, it's interesting because, the offense, I'm patiently waiting, and I'm going to be watching, obviously like everybody else. And I'm nervous about some of the decisions that they made. I know that JSpence earlier in the show had talked about, how he's very excited about the offense. He's very excited about what's to come. And I have to leave room for that because I don't know what's going to happen. So otherwise I'd play the lotto last week and I'd be, to be a millionaire. Like, I don't know what the future, so I don't know what's going to happen. However, I'm watching with just a close eye. You know, we talked about the defense last week. Unlike JSpence, we are not really too concerned about the defense. As long as everybody can stay healthy, we think that Sean McDermott will be able to do his thing. And obviously Bobby Babbage will take his first crack at calling plays. But outside of that, like, I mean, Josh Allen seems to be the one thing that holds everything together. He is the glue. And I understand that. So because of that, they've kind of pushed in all their chips on this whole moniker of he is going to elevate. He's going to be the elevator. We talked about that. Oh, you know, I remember us being on the K-Gun report. They're talking about the elevator. Like, listen, that's fine. It sounds great. And I would just love to see it, you know, come to pass and come to fruition, because of the fact that it's sometimes it's tough. Even the best guys need their weapons. Even the best guys need, you know, their security blankets and stuff like that. Now, you've already talked about it. JSpence talked about Dalton Kincaid. He'll probably be some of that. You guys have also talked about the fact that somebody's going to step into that role. So I understand where everybody's coming from on that. I want it to be a situation where the offense is not struggling. What was it like last year watching Dorsey? Everything was hard, and we talked about layup lines, and we talked about all those different things. And I'm lamenting and wishing for Dable to come back. Like all those, I don't want that. So that's why I started the show the way that I did, because I don't know Joe Brady, and I'm still wondering. So I'm going to be watching really, really closely, because of the fact that this is his show. It's obviously Josh Allen driving the car, but Joe Brady can do a lot to help out Josh Allen. And that's what the offensive coordinator is supposed to do, TT. They are supposed to draw up things, you know, that make things easier for the quarterback, those layups, those plays and those designs. What makes Mike McDaniel so good down there in Miami is that he is a wizard with these play calls. What makes Andy Reid so good, he makes Patrick Mahomes' life easier, even though Patrick Mahomes doesn't need an easier life, but he makes it easier with some of his schemes. So if we've got a great offensive coordinator that can make life easier for Josh, I think it goes a long way as we conclude tonight. I think it goes a long way.
Yeah, my final thoughts here. I mean, we've come up with a lot of solutions, if you will, right? Like in a way, we're kind of presenting a problem of, all right, the offense has lost a lot of key players. What's the answer to it? And we've come up with some solutions, right or wrong. We've come up with solutions tonight. You know, whether it be Joe Brady kind of getting into the mode of his first season with a good quarterback, whether it's Josh Allen taking over the alpha role, whether it's, you know, Kincaid stepping up or Curtis Samuel getting more touches and James Cook living up to a top running back in the league, the line kind of taking that step of being dominant, you know, having another strong year. So we've come up with all these solutions. And, you know, what we haven't said, the word Keon Coleman, Rob. So this is a very positive point. This is a positive point in my eyes, because we are through solution, you know, 5, 6, 7, and 8 before we're even talking about what we hope to be a superstar wide receiver for us in the future of this franchise in Keon Coleman. So we talk about,
which is the way it should be.
There's too much pressure on one person. There's too much pressure on this, but we're down to the superstar guy that's the rookie, and we haven't put any pressure on him in this episode, right? And come up with a lot of solutions of how this offense can be successful. You know, even if he is kind of just middle of the road rookie, we can still be successful with it. So I think that's a very positive point with, you know, GR and everything else is all they talk about is Keon Coleman. We didn't get there till the 53-minute mark of our show and brought a ton of solutions forward with how this offense can still be good. So that gives me confidence, Rob.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting. That's a good point. You know what I mean? I didn't even think of it that way, because I don't want to put too much pressure. It's funny. I literally listened to Jeremy White this morning on GR. He was like, I'm not expecting too much from Keon Coleman, because it's hard for rookie receivers and stuff like that. So I'm the same way. I don't want to put more on his plate right now. I just want him to get the plays down, get the offense down, get that chemistry with Josh Allen. You're absolutely right. That's a good point. There are ways for it to work, and I'm definitely not trying to be a Debbie Downer or saying that it, you know, like I said, I don't know the future, so I would never say that it's not going to work. I just know that it's going to take everybody raising their level, and I think that that's the best way to summarize it as we close tonight, is that everybody's got to step up now. Everybody's got to do a little bit more. Everybody's going to have a little bit more on their plate. If you got your fork, everybody eats. So I'm okay. By the end of this, you took an entire show, but okay, I'll sit back. I have my plate. I'm at the buffet, and I'll just figure out what I want, and I'll put it on my plate. And if I don't like it, then it's okay, because that's what makes buffets great. I can just put the plate to the side and go get another one and try again. So that's
you ever fry a turkey? You ever fry a turkey with the Nickel City crew? Everybody eats, baby.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Listen, shout out to everybody, Bills Mafia of Nickel City crew, checking out the episode tonight. Over 600 people watching tonight, DT. Again, we really appreciate you guys. We're back on our regularly scheduled program on Thursday nights. We like those Thursday nights. And really, we're just so excited for this season. I know that DT had talked about Queen City Vintage, and we're going to be doing some new things, coming out with some giveaways and different things like that for this 24 Buffalo Bills season. So we're really excited to be with you guys. We really appreciate your support. I know DT had told me a cool story from last week that a friend of his brother-in-law like mentioned that they listened to Nickel City Crew at random, and that was really cool for DT to hear. And like, I love hearing stories like that because that means that the crew is growing. That means that people enjoy our content, and we really do appreciate you guys being a part of it because really, honestly, it would be pretty boring if you weren't a part of it. So we do appreciate you guys joining in with us as well. DT, I mean, preseason is getting ready to start. They're leaving St. John Fisher today. I mean, it's inching closer, brother. Like it's getting closer. I mean, before you blink, it's going to be home over, and I'll be right there with you, man.
Yeah, nice little deal here with the Summer Olympics. Yeah. I don't know. I can't. They're every 4 years, so you can't really remember 4 years ago. Like, was I this into it? 4 years ago. But I'm into these Olympics, Rob. I'm watching.
Me too. Me too.
Don't tell the employer. I'm putting in a lot of screen time. Checking out all the events as they're going through all day. But
absolutely.
So that's kind of gearing up and giving you that athletic, competitive spirit back. And then
scratching that itch.
We're kicking Saturday. Caleb Williams coming into town, probably going to play. Josh Allen playing. Kids Day, a good one to get out there to the stadium and kind of see these boys get loose and see what's in store for this season coming up. And then you blink, a couple preseason games, college ball's right there, Labor Day, all your fantasy drafts are teeing up, and then we're into it, baby. So I can't wait. It's basically the second Christmas Day is this September 8th when we're going to be in that lot, together, Nickel City crew getting ready for the opener. So it's a month away, a month from today.
I know it's wild,
8th, right?
It's wild. It's wild. Yeah. I mean, I love it. You're absolutely right. Second Christmas. I like that. You know what I mean? I'm going to steal that for sure because it's a Bill. I always call it a Bills holiday, Mafia holiday. And it absolutely is like a second Christmas for sure. So we can't wait for it. And DT's right. It's only a month away. We will be all together at the Ralph or wherever you consume your Buffalo Bills across the world. And I know that I can't wait for the 2024 season. I've already taken my pledge. Nickel City crew, I already said I'm going to enjoy this year. I'm not looking ahead to the playoffs. I'm just going to kind of just take it in and go for the ride. And I'm excited. I am excited. I can get with JSpence and I'm excited. The offense, I don't know. I'm just a little bit fucking worried.
It's unproven. It's unproven. I mean, what the fuck? That's fair to say. It's fair to say.
I argue with people on Twitter. They're like, I mean, what? Yeah, absolutely. I argue with people on Twitter sometimes.
But it is unproven. It is unproven.
Yes, but DT, again, he's always glass half full, and I can appreciate that because he helps me out a lot. So we really appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Again, shout out to our special guest, JSpenceTheKing. He had to dip out a little early, but we do appreciate him stopping by in the beginning of the show. Again, we covered defense last week. We covered offense this week. Next week, we'll dive into 17. No, I already know the guest that's coming. There's no better person to have on here. DT already knows what I'm getting ready to say. I'm not going to give it away, but there's no better person to have on here to talk about some 17 than JA 17 MVP. That's your only clue that you get. But next week, we can't wait. We'll see you guys next Thursday. Listen, spread love out there, not hate. These were my Bills thoughts said out loud. Hit them with a go, Bills. DT, hit them with a go, Bills.
Hey, 1-0. 1-0 this weekend. Go Bills. 1-0. Put Caleb Williams down.
Preseason 1-0. But I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Wrap Josh Allen and bubble wrap. Get his ass off the field as soon as possible, along with all the starters, man. Quit playing. Go Bills. Oh, I love it.